Alrighty, guys, I'm going to re-record this Sentinels of the Multiverse tutorial series number one because I wanted to start off really, really well for everyone out there. And we're going to be doing Legacy and talking about his character, talking about his cards, showing everything off in the digital version so you'll be able to see it. The first episode I did with Legacy originally didn't go really well, so we're hoping to do much better this time. Learn some things from when we were doing that. So let's go ahead and get into it, and I appreciate everyone. If you enjoy this series, put any comments down below. If you enjoy this hero, rank them from 1 to 10 if you want, or, tell us what you think of them. And we'll hopefully do this series throughout 2025 and have a great time showing off the characters. If you're not familiar with Sentinels of the Multiverse, this will introduce you to the heroes, talk about them, show them off, and you'll hear my thoughts about them and what I like and what I don't like and all that. So maybe you'll be able to fine tune which characters you like and which ones you don't. Anyways, let's get to it, shall we? Thanks so much for coming by. I do appreciate it. All right, hero number one is going to be Legacy, and here's all the information. It's Paul Parsons. He's 200 pounds. He is the Freedom 5 leader. Think of him, again, I don't like to compare Sentinels of the Multiverse with Marvel's because they're not the same. But if you're going to compare them, I would say Legacy's kind of like Captain America. He's a great support leader, and, he is kind of the main character in the Enhanced Edition. I should have mentioned this to start, but we're going to be talking about Enhanced Edition right now because the Definitive Edition is not yet digitally, and I can't show you those cards. So once I do, then we'll be comparing Legacy's Enhanced Edition, which is the original edition, whether it's the second edition, the third edition, or whatever, versus the Definitive Edition. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scroll through his history here, and you can just pause this if you're watching on YouTube later, and you can find out. But I'm going to kind of summarize what this is and what it's talking about. It's giving you the legacy of this family, and that's kind of their name. Legacy is not a person. Legacy is the person that is currently in the family. So, like, for currently right now, Paul Parsons is Legacy, but his daughter is also New Legacy. So it's just part of the family and how they became superheroes and how they kind of evolved through history. Started all the way back in the American Revolutionary War. You can check out all that information. I'm not going to bore you with reading all that and mispronouncing everything. So, more importantly, let's talk about the cards, because that's what everyone wants to see. My general impression of Legacy is a very powerful character. He's a great support character. He does a lot of really good things well. And in my opinion, he's one of the better characters out of the original Enhanced Edition box. You can see every character here has got 40 card deck. And they're going to have several different base starting cards. You can see Legacy here starts with 32 hit points. That's the number here up here in the top. And then each character has its own power down here at the bottom. And for Legacy, or current Legacy, it's Galvanize. Until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. Which is really, really powerful. So Legacy has a great ability, which really ramps up damage for all of his allies. So you have to play Sentinels of the Multiverse with between 3 and 5 heroes going up against a villain in the default match, in the default way of playing. Now there's other variants and stuff like that, which we'll talk about throughout this series. But if you're playing default, classic Sentinels of the Multiverse, 3 to 5 players playing 3 to 5 characters that are going up against 1 villain and 1 environment. Now, Legacy, obviously, if he's playing with 5, is going to be much more powerful than 3 because he's going to be bumping up everyone 1 point of damage, which can be a huge amount when you get up to 5 characters. You could be adding anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 extra points of damage depending on how powerful your other characters are, how many different attacks they're doing, and everything like that. If Legacy is knocked out, on the back side of his character, and this goes with all the characters, when they're knocked out, you're not out. You still get to activate your character and activate one of their powers. In this case, one hero may use a power, one player may draw a card, or until the start of your next turn, returns damage dealt by environment cards by 2. So that's his ability when he's knocked out. And there are going to be variants for every one of the characters. Now, if you buy the default box, if you have just the default box and you don't have any of the expansions, you don't have the special add-on packs, you won't get any variants other than the original card. You'll get the original card, you don't get any of the variants. But I would highly recommend to get the variants because they're super cool and they add, obviously, some different spice to every character. So if we look at the variants, for Legacy, we have Young Legacy, America's newest Legacy. This is Paul Parsons' daughter, actually. She's 18 years old. And you can play her, and you can see she starts with 38 points, and she has Atomic Glare. Power, Legacy deals 1 target, 3 energy damage. And notice her name is still Legacy. So this is, she uses the same deck as the other Legacy. All the changes is the original card you play with, and she even has the same team symbol, or not team symbol, hero symbol. Atomic Glare, Legacy deals 1 target, 3 energy damage, and as she's knocked out, you can see Paul Parsons holding his daughter there and this is part of the storyline, and we're going to talk about this. This is super important if you play Sentinels of the Multiverse. And what happens through the evolution of the game, and what happens to the characters. You will see some characters go from good to evil, and some characters that go from evil to good, and depending on what actually happens to them. In New Legacy, as she gets knocked out, one hero may use a power, one player may draw a card, and until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by heroes by 1. That is her power, and this is truly an epic moment in Sentinels of the Multiverse. All right, next variant is what we're calling Old Legacy. This is World War I Legacy. Greatest American Legacy. He's got gung-ho power. One hero regains 1 hit point and may use a power. You will notice that all of the Legacies, no matter which version, have the same hero symbol, and that's going to be important here in a second. We're going to talk about that. If Greatest American Legacy, America's Greatest Legacy is knocked out, one hero may use a power, one hero may draw a card and discard the top card of a deck. So great powers there. And last but not least, there is one more variant, which is Freedom 5 Legacy. I've talked about him being part of the Freedom 5. We're going to go through the Freedom 5. We'll show you all the different characters, talk about them. We're going to be talking about every one of the characters. But he's got Overwatch power. You may either move an environment card and play to the bottom of the environment deck, which can be super good, or one player may play a card. Playing cards is very powerful in Sentinels of the Multiverse, and some of the characters can play cards that will either make their character so much better, or do lots of damage, or be able to get rid of environment cards, or be able to get rid of ongoing cards, or whatever the situation might be. So playing cards is very powerful. So that is the different variants. And on the backside, don't forget the backside. One player may play a card even if it would otherwise be prevented. One player may use a power even if it would be otherwise prevented. And one player may draw a card even if it would otherwise be prevented. So, what is the... let's go back to the original. There's the original. So, as I talked about, each hero has their own symbol down in the bottom corner of their character card. And that's important for nemesis. When they go up against a different villain and they are nemesis to one another, they will each do 1 extra point of damage to one another. Legacy's nemesis... If we go back to the go back to the main game. And we go to Heroes again. We can go to Legacy here. You can see his little symbol. It's like a little lantern and everything. If you go to the villains, you will notice that, Baron Blade also has the same symbol, which means these two characters, Legacy and Baron Blade, are nemesis. When they directly punch one another and do damage, they will do 1 extra point of damage to one another. That doesn't mean when Baron Blade's minions do damage or Baron Blade's devices do damage. No. It means when Baron Blade punches Legacy in the face, he's going to do 1 extra point of damage. And vice versa, when Legacy punches Baron Blade in the face, he will also do 1 extra point of damage. So it's just a kind of way to introduce characters, get more of the history going, more of the competition between one another going, and give some characters relationships to different villains. So let's go ahead and go back to the card Librarius. Alright, so let's talk about the cards now that we've kind of seen all of the different variations for Legacy. We've seen the backside of his cards. Now, of course, every one of those characters, again, you start with a hero card and a hero deck. Legacy, no matter which variant you use, will use the same 40 card deck. There's no deck building in this game. It's all set for you, which means you can literally pull the decks out of the box, shuffle them up, and be ready to play within 30 seconds. Let's take a look. So you can see here in all of the cards listed, it shows you how many different cards there are in the deck. So for Beck, Fist, Strike, there are 2 different cards in the deck. It'll also show you kind of symbols of what it does. This one does damage. This one lets people draw cards. This one defends against attacks. So you can kind of get an idea of just looking at the symbols, what's going on. So let's go into them and show them off. So 2 copies of this card. Legacy deals 1 target 4 melee damage. Now that might not sound like a lot, but in Sentinels of the Multiverse, damage is very, the numbers on damage are very light. It's not like other card games out there. Legacy himself, which is a very powerful character, only has 32 hit points. So it's, you're not talking about a lot of damage. The way I kind of normally tell people is if you do 1 or 2 points of damage, that's kind of light damage. If you do 3 or 4 points of damage, that's usually normal damage. And if you can do 5 or more points of damage, that's probably heavy damage. So you got light damage, you got medium damage, and you got heavy damage. So in this case, 1 target 4 damage, pretty decent. It's normal, average damage. That's a pretty good shot. All right, he's got 2 copies of that. Not bad. Let's move on. Bolster Allies, 1 shot. The other thing I should talk about is each of the different cards has a information about it. This is a 1 shot, which means you put it into play, it happens, it's done, and then you discard it. There's just nothing else happens. It happens once and it goes away. Each player draws a card, and of course, this is assuming, 4 characters or 5 characters or 3 characters. Every one of those characters. The game is assuming everyone is played by a different player. In this case, you can play Sentinels of the Multiverse solo. I play 4 characters solo all the time, and I think it plays great solo 4 players. I should try 5 characters to see how that plays. It's probably no difference than 4 characters other than it takes a little bit longer. That's all there is. So it's a 1 shot. Each player draws a card, which is super, super important. And of course, you have your nice symbol on your chest here. And you will notice some of the characters here is, what's his face? Fanatic, couldn't think of her name there. There's Luminary Mech there. There is Haka there, it looks like. And I think this is, I'm thinking maybe Tachyon. I'm not 100% sure who that character is. Anyways, you'll start to recognize how different characters. And the artwork in this game is beautiful and awesome, and it's very comic booky, which is awesome, but it's also very thematic, and it's very, there's hidden details in it, and like, there's information about other characters, and the history and the story and the timeline and everything is so good. All right, bolster allies. Danger Sense, ongoing card. So this card you put into play and it stays out there until something forces it to leave. It'll stay in play forever if nothing causes it to go away, which can be super powerful. Ongoing cards. There are ways to get rid of ongoing cards, which we will see throughout this series. But ongoing cards stay in play. They keep going and going and going and going until something causes them to go away. Legacy is immune to damage from environment cards, sorry. Which means, like if you have an environment target which is super mean and super nasty, Legacy can literally say, okay, I'm not going to take any damage from them. That's great. And it happens until this card goes away, which, it'll stay in play forever maybe. So Legacy kind of ignores environment targets because of this card, which is super powerful, especially when you're playing against some of these nasty, nasty environments. Nasty. Okay. Flying Smash. Oh, beautiful. There. It's a one-shot. Legacy deals up to 3 targets, 3 melee damage. Again, 3 melee damage is average damage in this game. And you're going to deal it to 3 different characters, which is very, very nice. That's 9 damage you just did. That's pretty gosh darn good. Total damage is 9. Based upon if you're getting buffs, which we're going to see in a minute. Again, Legacy here, one of his things is until the start of your next turn, increase damage. So he doesn't normally help himself with this power because at the start of his turn, that stops. So he doesn't give himself a boost anymore. But there are other cards that will give him a boost, which we'll see in a minute here. So that is Flying Smash. Fortitude. Ongoing unlimited card. Fortitude. Reduced damage dealt to Legacy by 1. So he's resistant to damage. That's a great card to go out. Ongoing card again. Put it in and it stays in play. Now limited is a new word which we got to talk about, which means you can only ever have 1 copy of this in play at a time. There are 3 copies of this in your deck. So when a card forces you to remove this card, you might have a backup card in your hand to get this back, which would be super, can be super good. Heroic Interception. I mean, what's there to say about this card? Very powerful. Another ongoing card. When this card enters play, Legacy deals himself 3 damage. So he takes 3 damage. Okay, that's some damage. That's average damage. We talked about it. Hero targets other than Legacy are immune to damage, so nobody else can take damage at all. Really? Wow, that's pretty good. If you got a bunch of enemies out there, they're causing lots of people to take damage. You take 3 points and nobody else takes damage. That seems pretty good. But this only, and you can see at the start of your turn, destroy this card. So it only happens for 1 turn. But there are 3 copies of this in his deck. So for 3 rounds, he can make everyone immune to damage, which can be super beneficial for a lot of characters out there. For 3 damage. I mean, if the villain's going to be doing 8 to 10 damage, plus all of his henchmen, plus the environment targets, you could be taking somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 or 40 points of damage. And you can get rid of all that and just take 3. How powerful is that? Pretty gosh darn good. Heroic Interception. Inspiring Presence, probably in my opinion, Legacy's #1 card. Inspiring Presence, ongoing limited card. Again, only 1 copy in play at a time. When this card enters play, each hero target regains a hit point. Well, that's pretty good, a little bit of healing. But the main thing you want to use this for is increases damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So that means everyone across the board, including himself, because he is a hero target. That also includes anything. I'm trying to think if this includes devices and stuff. I'm going to have to double check on that if it includes devices. But anyways, all the heroes going to be doing extra damage, and this will stack with his Galvanize. So all of your heroes are going to be extra damage. Now this one does include him, so he will be able to bolster himself with this. He cannot bolster himself with his galvanized power, but he can boost himself with this because it does say all hero targets. And that is important because in the Definitive Edition they do change a few of these cards so that he doesn't buff himself. But in Enhanced Edition he does. So that can be very good. So with this and your galvanized, you're giving every other hero +2 to every damage they do. So if they do 1 damage to 4 targets, they're now doing 3 damage to 4 targets, which can be, I mean, you're tripling everyone's damage output, which is insane. Lead from the Front, again, another ongoing card, stays in play until it gets rid of it, and it's a limited card. Whenever a hero target would be dealt damage by a villain, you can redirect that damage to Legacy, which is pretty gosh darn good because of another card we're going to see here in a minute. But also, don't forget, he's got his Fortitude. He can reduce the damage. So it's going to be redirected to your... you can redirect the damage that's going to your allies, to yourself. And then you're going to be taking less damage because maybe you have your Fortitude already going on there. So being very supportive and very helpful. Motivational Charge, ongoing and limited. It's a power. You put this into play, and now when you activate a power, you can activate this instead of your Galvanized. You do not have to do this. You can choose to do this one instead. And this one is Legacy, deals 1 target, do melee damage. Pretty decent. It's kind of on the light end of the melee damage. Again, 1 or 2 points is on the light end of damage. 3 or 4 is medium. And 5 or more is heavy damage. It's my consideration. Each hero target regains a hit point, though, which gives you light damage and nice healing for every one of your heroes, including yourself, because, again, Legacy is a hero. So that can keep everyone in the fight a little bit longer every point of damage you do, which is very, very nice. Alright, next evolution, an ongoing card. This one is kind of broken because as a power, again, you can use this power instead of your Galvanize. When it's your power turn, you can choose to activate a power. And instead of using this one, assuming you have this card out, you can activate this where you can make yourself immune to a damage type of your choice until the start of your next turn. So you can see that he's got some really good combos where he can redirect damage to himself and then make himself immune to damage and also prevent certain amounts of damage. So if you have a villain that's doing a lot of different a lot of the same damage, Legacy can literally nerf him into the ground, and that's why this card has been removed from the game for Definitive Edition, because there is a kind of a very aggressive combination with Lead from the Front, making hero targets, redirecting them to Legacy, Legacy activating his power, which will basically make him immune to the type of damage the enemy is doing, and then nobody on your team can take damage, and you just beat down the enemies, which is, in my opinion, a great play to do, because if you've got characters that can outthink and outwork your opponents, then that's fine. I know some players have house ruled that this is a broken combination, you can't do it, but that's for you and your group to decide what you want to do. Next up, Superhuman Durability, ongoing. Again, limited only 1 power or 1 card of this type in play at a time. Whenever a Legacy would be dealt 5 or more damage from a single source, reduce that damage by 3. Again, we talked about this. 5 or more damage is a heavy hit. So whenever he's dealt a heavy hit or more, you reduce that damage by 3. So he turns a heavy hit into a medium hit or a light hit, depending on if he's got his Fortitude going on there. Right? Because if he's got this, whenever Legacy would be dealt 5 or more damage from a single source, reduce that damage by 3. So the source comes in, he says it takes 5 points of damage. You reduce it by 3, which makes it 2 points of damage, and then his fortitude says reduce damage dealt to legacy by 1. So the 2 damage turns into 1 damage. Pretty good. Surge of strength. Increased damage dealt by legacy by 1. So legacy doesn't do a ton of damage, but when he does do damage, he can do it pretty decently. Again, just like Captain America. A lot of times Captain America is not doing damage, but when he does do damage, it's serious damage. And that's kind of where I think legacy kind of, fits in. So increased damage, again, limited, so only 1 copy. You can't buff, can't give the 3 copies out there. This all at the same time, that would be OP broken. But this card, speaking of OP broken, Takedown, this is close to Inspiring Presence as his best card in the deck. Ongoing villain cards cannot be played. You literally nerf the villain. Villain can't do anything. Sorry, your turn. You can just pass. Thanks so much for playing. At the end of your turn, the villain target with the highest hit points deals legacy 2 damage. So you're taking 2 damage for the team. Great. But the villain can't play cards. He can't buff himself. Can't bring in new enemies. Can't bring in henchmen. Can't bring in nasty ongoing cards. Can't do anything. Sorry. And then at the start of your turn, destroy this card. There's only 2 copies of this card because 3 copies would be OP, even though this card is OP. The Legacy Ring, 2 of these. You may use an additional power during your phase. So if you had out obviously your player card and maybe you had your Next Evolution card out, you could activate both of those. Or you could take your Motivational Charge along with your let's see, Motivational Charge with looking for his other power. Somehow I lost it. It's a one shot. Am I missing it somewhere? I probably am. So he's got this one here, which is Motivational Charge. He's got Next Evolution, which is a power. So yeah, he doesn't have a lot of powers. So giving him an extra power during his power phase, pretty good, because now he can activate, because you need to get your powers out there. But in reality, you're going to be putting all these other cards out to help your allies and bolster everything. So you're not going to worry about trying to get your extra powers in. So this kind of takes a back seat, to be honest. It shouldn't, because activating an extra power every turn is really good, but that's basically 2 turns, because you got to spend a turn putting this card into play, and then you got to spend a turn putting this card into play just to get an extra power. But getting an extra power to do a little bit of damage and let everyone regain a hit point is well worth it. Again, limited, you can only have 1 of these cards in play. And last but not least is Thoink. Legacy deals 1 target 3 damage and draw a card. Again, 3 damage is medium damage, not bad damage. And of course, if you got your Inspiring Presence, it's going to go to 4 damage. If you have your Surge of Strength, it's going to be 5 damage. So all of a sudden, it goes from medium damage into heavy damage, which is super, super good. So what do I think of Legacy? As you can see, Legacy is a great support character. He really bolsters his allies. He does start with a lot of hit points. 32 is a lot. There are many characters that wish they had that many hit points. He has one of the, if I'm honest, he has one of the best powers in the game in Galvanize. And the ability to give everyone extra damage. Again, the more characters he goes with, the more powerful this is. And then he has Inspiring Presence, which is a very powerful card, giving everyone +1 damage, including himself, +1 damage if you activate this power. So you're giving everyone else +2 damage every time they do something. 2 characters, 4 damage. They're doing 2 characters, 6 damage. 6 damage is huge. So just giving everyone the extra amount of damage is just It is very, very good. I do like the default. You might want to try some of the variant characters because, trying Legacy that does more damage. See if you can, instead of helping your allies more, you're giving, you're putting more damage, or getting this one, which will allow you to regain hit points and use a power. So using this, getting one of your power cards out. So you can see the combination, right? If you have America's Greatest Legacy, then you get Motivational Charge out. They'll be activating this every turn, healing everyone, doing a little bit of damage. Oh, yes, there's so many good combos with this character. And the last one, of course, move an environment card and play to the bottom of the deck, or a player may play a card. Playing cards we've already talked about is super powerful. So in my opinion, Legacy is a great character. If you're playing your first couple games of Sentinels of the Multiverse, include him in your deck. He will be so important to all your heroes and all your characters. He's almost an auto include in anyone, and if you used to playing him and you go and play other characters, you go, wow, I really miss Legacy. That's his lasting legacy, is when you don't have him out there, you go, wow, what would we have done if we would have had Legacy? We would have killed this villain way quicker if we would have had Legacy. Or we wouldn't have lost if we had Legacy. That's how important he is. He's just got takedown, preventing the villain from drawing cards. There are many environments which will cause the villain to draw cards. This can really nerf the villain to, you're talking about nerfing the villain here. You're talking about inspiring and giving your allies extra damage. You're talking about giving yourself extra damage. You're talking about activating 2 powers, taking less damage here from this attack. You do have the combination of not taking any, redirecting all damage to you, and then not taking any damage from a certain source. If your enemy's doing lightning damage, you make yourself immune to lightning damage and just redirect everyone's damage to you. And you literally have nerfed the enemy into the ground. And again, some people have house ruled that you cannot do this because it's way, 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 way over P. Way over P. Overpowered for sure. Just his ability to not take damage. And even if he's redirecting the damage over and not taking a lot of damage, that's pretty good. And don't forget, he can redirect the damage over and also have this one out. So if the villain's doing lots of damage, he's going to, nerf that damage down a bit as well. So if it's doing 5 damage, okay, I'm going to knock it down to 2 damage. I'm sorry, I'm going to knock it down, from 5 to 2. Oh, yeah, and don't forget, I can take my 2 damage and make it 1 damage. He's just such a overall great rounded character. Very awesome. Highly recommend you play him. A+ for sure. One of my favorites. And, the fact that he's a nemesis of Baron Blade. Everyone starts off this game playing against Baron Blade multiple times. And that's how important Legacy is. He is the core to Sentinels of the Multiverse. Highly recommend you try him out and play him. He's a great character. So thanks everyone for watching part 1 of the tutorial series. Until next time, my friends, you take care. If you have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, comments, if you want to see something new, or if there's a character you would like to see, right now we're going to be looking at the core box. We'll eventually look at all the other characters. In fact, once I will show you with the card library, there is a whole bunch of different characters. But there is a way to actually go in to the workshop and look at the Cauldron characters. I did figure this out in between episodes, or all this, so we can look at the Cauldron characters, and we can even look at, I'm sure there's oh, that's not what I meant to do. I'm looking for the way to look at the sure there's probably a way to look at the Sentinels of Earth Prime. We might need to actually go into that game to look at those character cards, which is fine. So we're going to be able to look at all the different characters, and you can see all the different heroes. And there is a boatload of them. I think I counted them at one point there. If you include all the expansions, if you include Heroes of Earth Prime, and you include all of the Sentinels, if you include all of the Cauldron heroes, which are starting right here with Baccarats, these are all Cauldron heroes. If you include all those, I think there is a total of 54. 1, 2, and now I'm going to count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, to 1, to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6, to 7, to 8, to 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71 variants. 71 variants, 71 different characters. That is a total. Wow, that is a lot of characters. I for some reason, I must not have been counting the. Maybe that's without the Cauldron characters. 71 is a total, a boatload of them, and of course, tons and tons of different villains and tons of different environments. And every time you combine these, you're going to get a different experience. But again, you can't go wrong with my main man, Mr. Legacy, and use any one of his different variants. By the way, each of the variants has their own history. So if you look at America's newest Legacy, kind of gives you a little backstory for her, talks about her information, and his America's Greatest Legacy here, which is World War II. I thought it was World War One, but I misspoke. It's World War II. And the Freedom 5 Legacy. Right there. All right. So there you go. That is great. And of course, every one of the legacies uses awesome deck. Gotta love it. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Until then, my friends, you take care of yourselves. And don't you forget, we'll see you next time. And we'll see you all